Currently, as of the moment I am recording this video, we have a total of 17 5-star gems available in the game. Some are good for PvE, and some are good for PvP. However, overall, in terms of legendary gems, there hasn't been much change for some time now. But since we still see new players coming to play Diablo Immortal and trying to find the latest videos discussing gems and people's thoughts in the comments section, I thought, why not make an updated version of this video? But keep in mind, before I start, this tier list is not a fact and only reflects my personal opinion of the gems. I respect all players and their opinions, so it's entirely fine if you disagree or have a different opinion than me. It's also worth noting that some gems might perform better for some classes than others, and my main class has always been Wizard, so I might see some gems a bit differently. But anyhow, I will be diving into the tier list and sharing my opinion about 5-star gems. Let me know in the comments section if you guys want me to do a tier list for 2-star gems and 1-star gems as well, and do consider leaving a like. That would be a huge help, and I appreciate you guys. Starting with our first gem, Hellfire Fragment. Since the launch of this gem, I never liked it much as a ranged class and even did multiple tests for it, where I found this gem a bit lackluster in terms of damage and having that 20-second cooldown before it can trigger again. We have no control over this gem, when it gets triggered and who it decides to hit in PvE, and sometimes the gem's skill just expires in PvP before you get close to anyone. Melee classes can use this gem somewhat a lot better than ranged classes, but still, there are better options than Hellfire Fragment, and so I will put it into the B tier list. Moving on to our next gem, which will be Starfire Shard, I will put this gem into the godlike tier. Not because it hits hard or gets you a lot of kills, but because it can crowd control players in PvP with knockback, and the hit rate of this gem is extremely high and hard to avoid. Other than that, it can also deal very high single target damage in PvE and follow up with a burning effect, which can be especially useful if you are running some damage overtime based builds. But it is important to note, this gem is heavily PvP focused because of its CC and hit accuracy. If you don't care about PvP, then going for damage multiplier gems will be a better option. Spiteful Blood is going to be next, and I will put this gem in the A tier list. I've thought about the gem a lot and decided to go with A tier. The reason for that is, other than monks or demon hunters, I don't get killed much by primary attacks of any other class in PvP. So, as a ranged class wizard myself, who always tries and stay at distance, this gem doesn't make much sense. But I understand for melee classes, it's a totally different story. They have to get close and personal with everyone, and not only that, they have to either push the idol to win the game or stop it from moving. So, getting every bit of defense makes sense for them. It can block the primary of other players once you lose 50% health and give you some shield to protect you and give you some damage. So, it's a decent A tier gem in my opinion for melee classes in PvP. For ranged classes, I would rate it B tier maybe, and as for PvE, this gem is a waste of a slot. Next we have Frozen Heart, and I will put this gem in B tier. Not because it's not good or anything, but it works better for some classes than others, and even after that, it might work best with some builds and might not work well in different builds. In PvE, this gem is not needed at all because most of the PvE content is easy once you get into endgame and put a proper build together. In PvP, this gem is best for players wanting to run tanky builds. So in terms of the usage of this gem, it will only be good for PvP and tank-based PvP. I think I am going to speed this up a bit, or I will try to. So I hope you guys are not bored. I will also put timestamps for all these gems, so it will be easier for you guys to navigate the video. Next, we have Concentrated Will. This gem always gets me into trouble when I don't rate it A tier, but guess what, today we are putting this into the A tier list. The reason for that is, right now dash skills are being used not only in most PvE builds but also in PvP builds, and they are being used by most of the classes, whether melee or range. So getting some movement speed increase and damage increase after using a dash skill is very powerful, and you can pair it with sets like Gloom Guide Prize, which will give you more damage and crit chance. So this gem goes into A tier. Our next gem is Gloom Cask, one of my favorite gems, so I might be a little biased here, and I will be putting this gem into S+ tier. The reason for that is very simple. This gem can be modified in so many ways. I will leave you guys some examples and then move on to the next gem. If you increase your attack speed, you will be able to launch more blades at enemies with this gem. Not only that, you can also increase the duration of this gem by having more beneficial duration on your character. When this gem gets triggered, it is considered as if you have used a buff skill, so it will also trigger Vithis Set or Bottled Hope gem. So that's why I am putting this into S+ tier. Our next gem is Void Spark, and I will be putting this in S tier. Don't get me wrong, this gem is very powerful and can jump from one enemy to another enemy, chaining light off-screen, which is strong. But still, it won't be killing anyone either in PvE or PvP. To make this gem more deadly, having a 6-piece banquet set is very powerful. It can leave enemies off-screen with poison, and you can have Seeping Bile and Viper Bite to make your damage over time builds even better. But that isn't easy for everyone to do, so this gem on its own goes into S tier for me. Next, we have Phoenix Ashes, and without wasting your time or mine, I will be putting this straight into the trash tier list. Blizzard killed this gem when we got pets with Cheat Death passive, which, compared to this gem, has a 2 times lower skill cooldown and doesn't take any gem slot. Chip of Stone Flesh is going to be next, and I will put this gem in the A tier list. It's a really strong gem for PvP. If you can freeze, stun, or fear enemies, it will turn them into stone. You will deal some extra damage to them, and at the end of it all, they will take some curse damage. So, a solid gem for PvP and not a good gem for PvE because, other than normal monsters, it does not work on any bosses, and we all know normal monsters die so fast. Next, we have Howler Call. I will put this gem into C tier because the wolf's accuracy on this gem is so bad that sometimes it will make you scream wondering where that thing is going. In PvP, everyone can easily avoid it, so it's not so good in PvP. But for PvE, you can get some high single target damage from this gem, and it has a low chance of applying stun as well. So C tier for me. Next, we have Seeping Bile. I will put this into the S tier list because it is still a really strong gem for players running damage over time-based builds. Even though it has a 4% chance to trigger only, it is still being used by many players in PvP and PvE. This gem also pairs great with other gems like Everlasting Torment or Viper Bite and sets like Grace or Banquet. So for players who like dot-based builds, they will enjoy this gem the most. If you don't want damage over time, then there are better options to increase your damage. Blessing of the Worthy is next, and I will be putting this into the C tier list. I cannot recommend this gem to anyone who wants to do PvP. In PvE, you will be able to use it for normal easy content, but in PvP, this gem doesn't make sense anymore. If you are a ranged class, you can get hit by Void Spark, and this gem will trigger and hit nobody. As a melee class, you will be losing so much HP all the time that this gem will never go explosive at max power. So it goes into C tier for me. Blood-Soaked Jade is next. It's a god tier gem. It can give us damage, and on top of that, it gives us movement speed, creating a godly combo. I mean, can you live without the movement speed anymore inside of Diablo Immortal? I know I can't. So I will be putting this into the God tier and hope I get to buy some copies of this gem from the market so I can upgrade it more. Now that my cries of not being able to get more copies of Blood-Soaked Jade are out of the way, let's rate the next gem, which, in my opinion, just keeps on getting better and better, and that is Echoing Shade. I used not to like this gem much, but with the recent wave of new legendary essences for all classes, the rating of this gem went higher in my opinion. Necromancer used to be the only summoner inside the game, but that is not the case anymore. Demon Hunter, Crusader, and now even Wizard can have summons, so this gem pairs so well with all summon-based builds. I will be putting this into the A tier list now, and maybe in the future, my opinion might change, and I might put this into S tier. We are only left with 3 gems now, so let's rate Bottled Hope. This gem also has gotten better with time and more legendary essences we got for all classes. Now basically, All classes are using some sort of buff skills, and Bottled Hope pairs extremely well with that. It gives us movement speed and the damage buff, which is very powerful. On top of that, we can also increase the duration of the gem by having more beneficial duration. So, I don't think many will disagree with me when I put this gem into S+ tier. Next, we have Zwenson's Haunting. It will only haunt your nightmare and your character if you use this gem in one of your slots. This gem is so godly that it only triggers after something dies. So if you like hitting dead bodies, this is the gem for you. But honestly, jokes aside, this gem is pretty solid for open world farming and terrible versus bosses or players in PvP. So, it goes into F tier for me. If you like seeing people getting eaten by sharks or, in this case, piranha, this gem might be for you. But do note, just like in the movies, sometimes people escape from fishes, and that is the case with Maw of the Deep as well. Despite this gem being so powerful, it is easy to escape from it in PvP. But it pairs extremely well with Starfire Shard and creates a godly combo. Maw of the Deep can pull enemies like a black hole and knock their teeth out in the air and break their armor after. So, I will put this into God tier. And with that, we have rated all the 5-star gems. Let me know in the comments section down below, which gem you will rate differently? And again, this was just my opinion of these gems and not a fact. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.